Welcome to Stretch Mufflers.
I don't think I'll ever get used to that, ever.
No.
I feel
All
like
Out review.
I feel like what I should do is, as I edit these videos afterwards, I think I should find some sort of like almost childlike voice to do that and just put it over your face.
No. What you need to do is stick some sick reverb on there.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
I'll see what I can do.
So this will be our All Out review show, but there will be an addendum show to follow with Fallout and Dynamite. So don't come here expecting talk about press conferences. We'll do that later.
That's in the other video.
Yeah. There will be. I mean, in my mind, nothing else happened. It was beautiful. It ended and nothing else happened. But yes, we are coming back to talk about everything that happened post this show.
So I am here, as always, we've said. That way.
That way,
It's getting weird. Remember where people are in squares. And Taylor? See? I know that one. That's one up. That's the easy one.
Yeah, I'm the one that's meant to keep you. I'm sort of the referee in all of this.
Exactly.
That's not a good thing.
You're the voice of reason. You're the common sense voice.
Well, we're fucked.
So, I know I had it on. It was in the background for the pre-show. Did either of you two actually watch the pre-show?
Yeah, I did. I almost said then I sat through the pre-show, but that would make it sound painful. But no, I did watch the pre-show on the night. I watched the whole thing live.
So pre-show, you had the mixed tag titles match with Sammy and Tay versus Ruby and the one out of Proud and Powerful.
Ortiz,
that's the one.
Yeah.
As I said, I had it on while working, so I wasn't really paying full attention to it, but it was all right.
Yeah, I mean, like having watched it, I think there might be a familiar theme that goes through a few of these. It was fine, and I think it probably was a decent pre-show match for the crowd and all that jazz. Did it feel essential? No. Is it something I think they could have done on a Rampage or a Dynamite, and possibly might have been better suited to that? Yes, but Sammy took some big bumps. And
really got a face broken. Yeah,
and I think probably for the way the booking has been, ultimately the right result, and I think they all did well. But nothing. I wouldn't say go out your way to seek it out.
We then had Hook versus not Daddy Mac Daddy Mac Daddy. It was Cool Hand Luke.
Yeah.
Decent match. Hook being Hook. And we had a run-in from Action Bronson, who's a fucking unit. That boy quite easily get in the ring and start lobbing people about.
Well, funny you should say that.
Did anyone else get weirdly Tank Abbott vibes from him?
Yes.
No, but I did notice whatever his t-shirt was, must have been offensive because he had to wear it inside out.
I mean, like we'd said on the preview show about what we thought this would be, and it ran to just about 4 minutes. So I guess it was kind of in that world of Hook squash, but some offense was allowed outside of that. And from what I saw of it being so short, it just, whenever I see Hook matches now, I just want to see more. And I think he needs experience before he can necessarily have long matches, because I think there are some issues maybe with his style, but I think putting him in with people like this guy is only going to help him, I think. So but yeah, it was fine. And Action Bronson, not only a big unit, not only do I think he could do something in the ring, but an excellent, amazing rapper. So give him a try if you're into your hip hop at all and you've never tried him.
See, my thing is Dan Hookhausen done now?
I think so, because isn't Hook sniffing around with Pockets and the Cuddle Bunch?
I wouldn't be shocked, though, to not have it appear every now and again. I think it's something that they'll go back to. I think they've just tried to have Hook out on his own a little bit to, I don't know, I guess keep him fresh and special. But yeah, I think it'll be a lovely little moment every now and again where, I don't know, Danhausen's in trouble and Hook will come out, or vice versa. I hope it's not done for good.
We then had Pac and Kip Saban. It was all right.
I thought this was really good. I really enjoyed this, but then it's two performers I do really enjoy watching, and this one was the one that was really key to me. Is I wish this had been on telly, because I think on telly it might have got another 3-4 minutes and gone to 15 and could have been a decent main for Rampage. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Still, one thing I have an issue with Pac is how long it takes him to set for all his big aerial moves. Because it's great that you can do all the triple spins, but it shouldn't take you a minute to set your feet before you do it. You know, you didn't see Macho Man taking that long before he dropped the elbow. You don't see Penta taking that long before he does something off the top rope, or Ray. It's one of those of, yes, you can do it, well done, but if you can't do it quicker, I think it sort of has its problems.
There's that slight concern around credibility when it takes that long, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, that kind of you being taken out of the fact that this is a match, because you're kind of going, well, you just move, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then
I was just going to say, I know it does take a while, but at least, to be fair, he's safe.
Yeah,
because he is doing some ludicrous stuff, and sometimes when not so much Penta, but Ray sometimes comes off as a little bit unsafe because he's that step too quick almost. He needs to, he's like Pac needs to borrow a bit of speed from Ray, so Ray slows down a bit and he speeds up a bit.
And then the finale of the kickoff was Eddie Kingston and Ishii slapping the shit out of each other. I don't get, because I didn't have the sound on, but though I saw the crowd absolutely losing their shit while they were having a chop battle.
Yeah.
It's one of those of, they see this all the time. I don't get why it got such a big pop.
As a pre-show main event, this one really did G the crowd up. I thought it was fantastic. I don't know if we dare speak the name of the other company, but I watched Clash at the Castle, which I wasn't a big fan of outside of the Sheamus Walter match. And I thought this was on a par with the Sheamus Walter match for people knocking 10 bells of shite out of each other. And I quite like that style. And I thought they did an amazing job of it here.
So, yeah,
sometimes you just need two big horses just to slap each other.
Yeah. Yeah, and convincingly, to the point where you think they really want to be doing that to each other, and what they're doing hurts. And yeah, I think they did it fantastically.
Yeah, it's to me. It's like I get what they do, and I like what they do there with the big lads battering each other. But it was just a surprise to see the crowd lose their shit the way that they did for it, because it's not something that's not seen most of the time.
But it has to be done well, doesn't it? And I think probably, I think the crowd was really up for All Out. The AEW crowd is generally up for the product they're getting. And I think they were kind of going, this is a match we want to see, and we're getting close to the main card. So I think they were just really, really excited. And I think it come out because they saw two wrestlers doing a style that they appreciate.
True. So we go into the main show and opens with the casino ladder match, which was for the chip and not the brass ring.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they've dropped that joke, and that's fine. It suits the theme now much better.
Yeah. Well, waiting to see them pull down the donuts so they can sit on it nicely as they wait in catering for their title match.
The pole donuts.
Yes, very much so. I think that's probably why it is a chip now. What the heck was Cesaro building? That was one of the few times in that entire match where I was going, "What? This doesn't look like a good idea."
Yeah, it was that sort of thing. Like, is he trying to make some letters? Is he going to put two ladders between each of them and do some weird sort of double spot off the butt? Yeah, it was one of those of just like you're building furniture clearly for a spot later, but it makes no sense at the time when you're doing it.
I both love and hate this match because it was up until we'll talk about the end because the ending is sort of separate because it goes from match to staged angle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the match portion was really good, except they killed the ladder because the amount of moves that were done onto a ladder and then a couple minutes later back again. It's like, no, normally when something's done on, was it a destroyer done onto a ladder or something stupid was done onto a ladder?
Penta did it to Andrade. Did the destroyer, the Canadian destroyer, onto a ladder as Ray then did the frog splash through the table on Roosh, and it's just like, you're hitting that shit, sell it.
Yeah, you need to sell that. You need to make it that the commentators are saying that the ladder's a weapon and it's a big thing to use the ladder, and stuff was being done onto the ladder and then people popping back up too soon. It's like, no, it's not quite working. And although I think Dante did some really nice stuff when he got in, he had like the least amount of time to shine before stuff happened, but he maximized his minutes. It's fair to say.
Yeah, there was that bit where, I mean, when Penta first came in and hits the destroyer on the apron, or not the apron, on the rampway, and I was just like, fuck me, boys, you have no care for your bodies.
It's no care, and it's like, okay, this match is starting in like 6th gear, so we all knew something was gonna happen because the intensity and the spots were too close together to build anything. So it definitely felt like something helped. And lo and behold, men in masks rush the ring, and one climbs the ladder.
I was just going to say before we go on with that, like, I love everyone involved in this match. Like, these are some of my favorite performers, and as you say, they can do spots galore. Fantastic to watch, and I kind of like ladder matches. And I did like this match. I did think it was really good. However, I think I hit a bit of a wall in this match of going, and like you were saying, too spotty for me. And I'm going, I could probably go a while without seeing a ladder match again because they just don't feel very special anymore. And no matter how good and what they're doing, I just too often now kind of go, oh yeah, I've seen that. Or if you do something early in a match, you go, how are you going to top that later? Oh, you've done, and it's almost that war of attrition with it of going, I care a lot less about ladder matches, but I still love everyone in it. I think they did some amazing things, and I probably enjoyed it. But I fancy a break from ladder matches for a while, I think.
I think that goes back as far like 20 plus years ago, if you think when with wrestling 20 years ago stuff.
Yeah.
When we first started getting the tag team ladder matches and TLCs, and when they were special and they were a rarer occurrence, and it's just like, yeah, that's cool. I don't want to see this for another year.
Yeah.
But and every time they were doing it back then, it would be something different as the big fuck me moment. If you think that in WrestleMania 17 when Edge spears Hardy,
it's the one I always think
hanging off the thing.
Yeah,
that's a fuck me moment.
Yeah,
Bubba getting launched out of the ring through the 6 tables on the rampway is a fuck me moment. But that's been topped so much now that, as we said, we're getting Canadian destroyers on a ladder and the guy's up within 2 minutes.
I feel like somewhere in the universe I'm ready for a really pared back one. So a 1 versus 1 that has the ladder and the ladder is used as a weapon but is less spotty, and see whether someone could pull it right back again. Because, yeah, as you say, we've seen so many great spots in it, and now within a match they're having to do 5, 6 big spots, and you're going, it feels just a little bit too much for me now.
Yeah, it's been 22 years. No, 23 years, because the first one was 99. Yeah. The TIT Invitational. That we've seen these bars being pushed and pushed and pushed. Yeah, as you say, can we have a Shawn and Razor ladder match now?
Rockin' Triple H one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, again, I'm with you guys. We like everybody in it. It's just they are not feeling special anymore. They are a little bit too much. But then again, was this too much because towards the end, it flips into the angle where basically, if you've been watching the program, you know that Hathaway's been putting together a family, if you will, and they basically rush the ring, take the chip. It's revealed it's Stokely Hathaway taking the chip, and then bloody hell, Tony Khan has shelled out some money because out comes the Joker to "Sympathy for the Devil" by the Rolling Stones. So the second best version of it.
I was going to say I was waiting for the Motley Crue version, but you know, the Nando's Black Card Gang, as I'm calling them.
What was the crappy the NXT one? Retribution.
Yes.
Oh, I remember them. They were shit.
Poor Mustafa Ali. What a waste of talent.
Yes.
But yeah. So Stokely's boys come out, grab the chip, hand it to the Joker, who was in a mask that was a cross between something that Aleister Black should be having on and, you know, a fucked up luchador.
I quite liked it.
I was more thinking Reject idea from a Ghost video, but hey.
I thought that kind of the bit where Hathaway and the boys, as I'll refer to him for this, come out and kind of rush the ring. I was a little bit iffy at that point because I was a bit like, I like Stokely, I really do, but the people I've seen him handing out cards to, I didn't really want anyone from that group. I mean, there was a part of me that's going, "Oh, don't give it to Morrissey, don't give it to Morrissey," and that's W. Morrissey rather than Morrissey the singer. But when that "Sympathy for the Devil" kind of hit you, I went, "Oh, brilliant! Here is something." And of course, we won't go in so much into what that something is. We'll talk about that something.
At least they didn't keep us waiting for that. But I think I literally worked out who it was by the way they entered the ring.
I would say I was hopeful at that point of what we might get, but I was also just hopeful. Much like we said somewhere else, I didn't want to get my hopes up too much on what might be happening. But yes, that like it being not one of the known Hathaway card handouts was good for me. I think I'd have been. I think the next few matches I'd have been soured if I was sitting there thinking that Morrissey might get a title shot in the near future.
See, I was just waiting for, you know, the double quick footsteps and soft.
Oh God, yeah, I've forgotten about that as a possibility. No, that couldn't happen because no way would they ever have a toxic element in that locker room that might cause backstage problems.
Never.
Tune in for the next episode, yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those of with the Joker winning, and when it's revealed later, it made sense for what they did with this.
And also, even with a Joker winning, I think it added in that anything could happen now element. Not that I thought we'd get a someone trying to use it, and I was going to say cash in then, and that's Money in the Bank, but not that I thought we'd get it used tonight, but I think we're going to get more with this storyline later. Whereas I think if it had been any of the other guys, because they're already established on the card, you'd have probably just gone, they won, that will come back as a story later on in weeks to come in Dynamite, rather than there's going to be some sort of payoff for this later on in the show.
And to be fair, considering who was involved in this match, no one would have been a disappointment at all, because you knew there would be a good match regardless of if any of those guys had won.
Yeah.
So we follow this with a
Lacey's favourite match.
Because I didn't fucking watch it.
I did.
I was going to say, did you said you weren't going to watch it, and I was just going to clarify, did you not watch it?
No, I didn't.
Foolish. Anyway, Taylor.
I did watch it. Lacey won't like it because the Bucks do the Bucks stuff, but I will give credit where credit is due. They did a very good job of putting over John Silver, especially John Silver.
He was a superstar in this match, wasn't he?
Yes,
they really put effort into him.
And it was Kenny was giving him a lot as well. Kenny gave him a lot. So they did make him look good. And I forgot the other guy's name, and I feel so bad.
Oh, well, Alex Reynolds, the other.
Reynolds, yes, they gave Reynolds a lot as well. You know, it didn't It wasn't half-assed. It wasn't we're just winning. They tried to call back to the Page Omega title match as well. So they did some good stuff. On the whole, it was a Bucks match where they were in the mood to give, I think is the nice way of putting it. But the outcome was, we all knew what the outcome was. They won the trios title.
I mean, I thought this was an amazing match, but I do understand that I think you have to kind of like that Buck style, don't you? You know, they do their bits, and yeah, I think you're spot on, Taylor.
Again, I don't mind. I don't hate them as much. I can generally enjoy the match. I can get a bit bored of it, but like I said, what I was more impressed were, especially like with Omega giving so much John Silver, the kick outs to a lot of Omega's moves was quite a surprise. So yeah, and I think that Reynolds and Silver came out of that better than they went in.
Yeah, I do. I think whatever happens with the Dark Order in its entirety at any point, and I think they've had some good matches along the way. I think they've had some good moments as a tag team, and I think a lot of that's lent into the comedy. But I think every now and again they'll get a match like this where you see actually these boys really can work, and they can work well with people, probably right the way from the bottom of the card to right the way at the top of the card. At this point, 2 matches in, I thought top that because I thought this was that good. I'm not going to say that it wasn't topped, but I thought it was that good. I think you really have missed a trick by not watching it, Chris. I know you don't like them, but I think at the very least it's just worth a watch because it is done very well, regardless of whether you like what they do.
Well, with the history of this match, it might need to be watched just because it might be their last.
What? I don't know what you're talking about. And like that, of course, because it has history with it as well. You had Hangman Page in there, and they do play a lot off of that elite kind of history, and did some stuff that I think it was probably intended to have a longer term payoff with Hangman Page, but obviously we don't know where that will go now. But yeah, a really, really good. Really good effort by the boys, and I've just realised my Young Bucks aren't around behind me. I should have got them for this bit, but no, a great match for me.
The thing is, it was one of those of I don't really like Hangman. I hate the Bucks. I can't stand Omega. The only person in this match I like is Johnny Hungy.
Yeah,
and I saw it went over half an hour. I was like, I need to catch some time up on this. I'm watching it on Monday night.
I will say about 10 minutes of that was kind of entrances and post-match. I think the match only went about 20 minutes, but I think it was worth the 20 minutes that it did.
I know evidently Omega's found the sunbed because he doesn't look as knackered now.
Yeah, he did. It's like he listened to us, wasn't it? It's like he tuned in and went, I better put a bit of effort in because he did. Yeah. He looked almost Kenny from before, and even in what he was doing in the ring. But yeah, 2 thumbs up from me. If I had more thumbs, I'd give them.
Definitely one of the better matches of the night. I made time up in other places.
So next we had the TBS title match between Jade and Athena. Jade coming out as She-Hulk was an interesting look. And this was just really quite sloppy, and they couldn't really work well together.
This is where I made time up. I'm sorry. As much as I praised Jade, I started watching. I was like, oh, there was like one good bit where she fucked off Athena fucked off one of the baddies into the guardrail so badly the other one went, nope, bye.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, yeah. Aside from that, it was your standard Jade Cargill match. It was okay. It was sloppy in places. I agree with what you guys said. She needs Finley. She needs someone to take to the one side and really smooth those edges off because she's got so much, but the matches are just rough.
And I mean, again, we said, I mean, I like Athena a lot, and like kind of when Ruby was about, I like people of that level and of that quality, but yes, she needs a lot more work. These girls can't necessarily get that match out of her, can they? Like she needs a lot more work than that. And I guess if her matches are going to be a lot more kind of storyline based, but I do feel like even in like the sort of 4 to 5 minutes it's got, they were trying to make it a wrestling match, and I think unfortunately that kind of exposed her that bit more and made her look that bit weaker. But yeah, I did think there were some nice character moments in it. Again, this would be one of those ones which I think would have been better placed on a TV show. I think this would have been better placed on a Rampage or something like that. However, contextually, on some of the others I've said this to, we've said the AEW's women's division needs a lot of love and a lot of attention. And if you rip this off of here and put this on a Rampage and have one less women's match, if you're going to have a 19-match card, I think one women's match isn't enough in a 19-match card.
Yeah.
But so I can see why this is on there. But yeah, it was a bit of a, after two real hot opening matches though, it did feel like almost a bit of a natural cool down. So I wasn't too put off by it.
Yeah. I don't want to say it was a piss break match, but it kind of was.
Yeah,
and that's really annoying because I think what gets us the most is we like Jade. She's got the look, she's got the mannerisms down, she's got that character spot on. It's just that in-ring work that's making her fall short. And it bugs us because she's got it. Yeah. She really has got it. It's just, she just needs to get there.
Yeah.
So we followed that with my boys and Wardlow versus Jay Lethal and the Motor City Machine Guns. I wish this was just a normal straight tag team match between FTR and the Machine Guns because that would have been so much better.
I think everybody was. I think everybody really did because when it was those guys, it was so good. Yeah. But then Wardlow had to come and do his stuff, and it's not a knock on Wardlow. I like Wardlow. It's the Goldberg gimmick. It's hard not to like that gimmick, especially on him. He can pull it off.
Yeah.
But I want to see FTR because FTR are fucking awesome.
It's horrible. Like I will say it again about some matches that I think could have been cut, and this is one of the points where I go, this is why, because I could have quite happily had FTR against the Guns and had Wardlow go against Lethal and do Wardlow things to Lethal, and that could have been over there. But yeah, the meshing it together just felt like my FTR and Guns time was being interrupted by, albeit two people I really like, but I knew what I wanted and I wasn't getting what I wanted all the time in this match.
See, even a 3-on-2 would have been fine because it's just Wardlow's great at being Wardlow, but in a match like this where you've got to sell and you can't just rely on FTR to take the hiding for the whole match just to then have Wardlow come in, powerbomb and get the win. It just struggled a little bit. Great to see Joe back. Always love seeing some Joe. And Baby Dax slapping the shit out of Sanjay.
Well, yes. I didn't realise her name was Finley. So when we were saying that Finley needs to train Jade, I wasn't quite expecting it to be this one.
Finley might be able to help as well. Yeah. And obviously, because this is all payback to the story that Uncle Dax told about the girl with the hole in her heart, and it would be his daughter, and it's a big payoff for that, and that was really nice to see. Also, follow Uncle Dax on Twitter because he's frigging hilarious.
He is really good on Twitter, yeah.
The meet and greets they were doing beforehand when some girl brought them the massive bottle of Woodlands Reserve, the face on Cash and Dax's, the looks on Cash and Dax's face. As a whiskey man myself, I appreciated the look.
Well, the other thing is, they stay till like after midnight as well to thank the fans. It's like, wow, again, it's really hard not to like FTR. They're so good in the ring. They are consummate professionals outside the ring. It's
just seem like good dudes.
Yeah,
they do. I like seeing Finley in there as well because it gave me the hopes and dreams that one day Sammy and Tay would lose their mixed AAA tag team titles to -1 and Finley. I think that's it. Book it now. Book it now.
Oh, book that. That would be good.
So next we had Starks and Hobbs. It was all right, but I thought the ending just came out of nowhere. I don't know whether that was a audible of fuck, we need to get some time back, or whether they had their time
apparently
cut
not.
or...
Apparently they had more time for this match, and I think it's a bit of an unknown as to why it went the length it went, because the show didn't overrun and there was more time allocated to this. But I haven't seen anything to say there was an injury or something like that. But I think I guess they mapped out the match they mapped out, and that's what it became. But yeah, I'm with you. I'd have liked to have seen more time on this.
I'm going to say it. This should have been a TV match. It was fine for what it was, but it didn't need to be a pay-per-view match at all. It built up Starks fine, but we know Starks is good. It built up Hobbs fine, but we know Hobbs is good. We know Hobbs is a monster, and we just need Hobbs to basically go on a tear now, which he should do by all rights. But given something that happens later on with another big guy, I don't know what's going on there. It's a bit of a confusing one, because you can see the AEW clearly wants to push both of these guys.
Yeah. Well, we said like when we were talking about the Jade match event, it sounds terrible, like the toilet break one or something like that, or the cool down one even. But having Jade into the triple or the 3-on-3, and then this, it felt like a very big gap of matches there, which none of them felt necessarily essential in the form they were. And yeah, it just went on a bit longer than I'd hoped. And we talked about it in the preview. We said this probably could have been done elsewhere, and that's what I got at the end of it, of going, this should have been done elsewhere, not even could have been done elsewhere.
But we follow this with our boys, you know, everyone's boys by the sound of the crowd during this match. The Acclaimed going against Swerve in Our Glory. That fucking crowd reaction. Fuck me. That's up there with, if you remember, the Money in the Bank when Punk and Cena had it, where Cena then fucked off, or Punk fucked off and didn't have his contract. That Road Warrior pop level, these boys are fucking over.
I think the AEW crowds are excellent. I do love the AEW crowd, because I think they, like, same things we've seen with like FTR, but they like the people they like, but they tend to like them because they're a good act, or they're great in the ring, or combination of all those things. And I know there's a long way to go on this show, but the fact that they could do reactions like this, even after what, including the pre-show, had been 8 to 9 matches at this point, and this wasn't the main at all, I think that they're almost like the extra person on your team, aren't they? Like the 12th man in football, or whatever term.
The crowd is vitally important. Go back and watch some of those early in your houses or stuff from WWF at the time, and where the crowd is flat, and it does not feel good. This crowd just wanted. They should have called an audible and switched the winners.
No.
Really?
No.
Anyone?
No.
No, you use this, you turn fucking Swerve and Lee. You then have a heel tag team, which they are very short on heel tag teams.
It's really...
You make the Acclaimed wait. Because they will get their rematch at Arthur Ashe. I wouldn't even let them win there. I build this for another couple of months, and then you get when's the next pay-per-view? Like November? Is it Full Gear?
Yes.
I give it to them then.
It's really hard though, isn't it? Because we grew up in a WWE world where you would get these magic lightning in the bottle moments where the crowd were rabid for someone to win, and then Vince would bury them. And I think the reason why I wouldn't have called an audible here is I do have faith that Tony Khan doesn't do that and will do something great with this. However, it is a risk, because sometimes when you don't take that chance right there, when the crowd really wants it, things can fizzle. But yeah, I'm with you, Lacey. I would extend this out. And I know it's almost feeding into something I said the other day on the preview show, but I want to see them win those titles against one of the big teams. And Swerve and Our Glory, I thought a great showing from on this. Like, this was the most impressed I've seen of them as a tag team, because they lent into the heel bit anyway. And they had no choice. The crowd were like forced them that way, and whether this was planned or not. But I thought they did a fantastic job here. But I still kind of want to see the Acclaim's first title win to be against a FTR, a Bucks, or someone like that. But an amazing match like this. Our spoilers. This is my match tonight by a long way. I think this is an amazing tag team match, and AEW since day one. I know they've put a lot of effort into their tag team ranks. I know they've got some great tag teams, but the fact that they can still keep producing amazing tag team matches on pay-per-views, and this is the first time we've ever had it where we've been talking about these two as the thing. You know, generally it's been an FTR, it's been a Bucks in these matches, it's been a Lucha Bros, and here we are 3 years later, and you've got another, possibly match of the year candidate from another two pairs of tag teams. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's out of this, I would definitely put Swerve and Keith as heels.
Definitely, they're definitely doing that with Swerve. Swerve, just by his actions alone at the end of this match and from Dynamite, is clearly headed that way, and it works because he's good. Yeah, he's damn good. That's the thing.
Arrogant enough, the arrogant enough shitbag to be that smarmy heel.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's probably a better heel as well, isn't he? I mean, I'm not saying he's not a good face, but I think. Yeah, that's that, as you said, the arrogance. I think it plays better to a heel persona than probably a face persona.
And even Keith, when he started to twist it and turn it and be, I'm not going to say out and out heel, but he was being nastier. Yeah. It suited him. It worked really well because
and it felt like he was. Things. It felt like he was leaning into it as well, wasn't it? It almost felt like the more he did it, the more he was enjoying it, and it felt like you were seeing this character shift in a match. And all these elements of the things that go into the mix and the pot. It's not just about having good wrestlers, it's about telling that good story and that story evolving as the match goes on. A bonus to all these boys, please, Tony Khan. A big bonus absolutely. To that.
And you know what? They have such a good chemistry that you aren't going to complain at more of this. Yeah. Although I think they are getting the titles at Arthur Ashe. I think that's what they want to do.
I'm with you, Taylor. I do think they are getting it. I think I'd love for them not, but I think Arthur Ashe is where they crown them.
So talking of crowning, we had the interim women's world title fatal four-way between Toni Storm, Shida, Hayter, and Britt Baker. With this, to me, it was just more of what I don't like about multi-person four-way matches. There was points when, the slightest hit they'd sell it for ages. Yes, it makes sense that Britt and Jamie would double team and then have that little tiff at the end of, no, I want a pin. But just make these sort of match eliminations matches, because then at least there doesn't have to be I've been hit with a clothesline and I am dead.
That's what ECW used to do, wasn't it? Their three-way dances were elimination. I think that makes much more sense, and it kind of gets around that problem of, I have to pretend to be dead for a bit, because it wasn't Ashida taken to the back for a bit.
Yeah, she went to the back, was hurt, and then came back out with the two kendo sticks and did pretty much the square root of fuck all when she did come back out.
And I was wrong. They didn't give it to Britt. I thought they were giving this to Britt because Britt always wins. What they did seem to be doing is doing the whole, let's put a wedge between Britt and Hayter, which, does anyone actually care? I mean, Hayter's good. Don't get me wrong. Oh, you do care?
I do.
Okay, fair
enough. You said in the last match about calling an audible. If I was going to call an audible, and I wouldn't have, but if I was going to call an audible anywhere tonight, it'd have been here, and I'd have gone with Hayter. I think I still would have. I still would have stuck with their original booking because I think Tony was winning the title if it had been her against Thunder. So I think you probably go with that. And I think they have that longer story to tell with Britt and Jamie. And I say longer, who knows how long it'll go for. And it doesn't need a title in the mix for it. But nowhere near as rabid as they were for the Acclaimed. But I think this audience was rabid for Hater tonight. And the Acclaimed, I think, probably it's more sustainable because we know their act already. You know, they are fantastic. Yeah. Whereas I think possibly with someone like Jamie Hayter, maybe you do have to capitalize on that because I could see in the what I think is the inevitable Britt her feud that Britt will get most of the mic time and probably most of the attention, and maybe this could have done great things for Hayter. However, Jamie Hayter's young, and I think this shows that I think one day, be it a year from now, 2 years from now, whenever it is, I think she will be a world champion, and I think she'll carry it very well, and I think the crowd will go with her when they do it. But the match was fine for me. I think you're right, Chrissa. I think I prefer eliminations in these styles of matches, but I think probably why they avoid eliminations is the person who gets pinned fourth and third are often kind of forgotten and pushed down the card, and I think they think that everyone gets more spots this way. But yeah, there's too many moments where you have to find a way to make it so it's one-on-one in the ring and things like that. And yeah, it leaves me a little bit cold from that side.
And the thing is, when you think the first match of the night, people are taking Canadian destroyers on ladders and not dying, a slight touch now and they are dead.
Yeah, I think applying logic to wrestling is potentially a dangerous thing though, because if you did that,
don't want to do that.
Yeah. None of it would ever make any sense or work. I think you kind of almost have to. And again, one of the things I like about AEW is that variation of potentially match style. But I think when you get into that world, you have to suspend your disbelief differently across each match.
Wrestle logic.
Yeah.
So next we had Christian and Jungle Boy, which is exactly what this should have been, seeing the fact that Christian is still fucked. Jungle Boy gets killed by Luchasaurus. Christian gets a cheap win. Christian stays off TV for a bit, or in ring for a bit, as he's fucked. And the Dino does his bidding.
Yeah, but this is where I get confused. Now you've got Hobbs on a rampage, you've got Wardlow on a rampage, you've got Luchasaurus on a rampage now. Although, who knows? Have faith, I guess. But the one thing that I have to give was Jungle Boy taking that bump onto that metal grating, because you see his back a few minutes later, and you can see the imprint of the metal grating. It's like, fuck me, that must have hurt.
And seeing the fact that's the pyro stations, they're probably a bit toasty as well.
Yeah.
For discussion on a later episode possibly, but these sort of moments with people like Jack Perry and let's talk about like some of the pillars of AEW and some of those people who've been there since the start and the younger ones. It's taking spots like that make me think they really love this. They love the business, they love the company, and I'm not that I want to see necessarily someone take that bump too often, but it's nice to see because you kind of go, you really care, and you've done this for the fans, yourself, the story, the company, etc., etc. As an angle, I must admit, on the night, I was a little bit, how do I feel about this? With there couldn't have been a match, but does this feel? I know we talked about it on the prediction show of if Luchasaurus turns again, how we feel about it. But I think the more I moved away from this, the more I kind of went, yeah, okay, you weren't going to get a match, and actually this story deserves a Christian Jack Perry match. So if they have to prolong the feud this way and we get that X amount of months down the line, then worth it for that alone, I think.
Yeah, it's going to allow Luchasaurus to step into that role for a little bit to give Christian that time to heal, so we can get that match. And you've got to admit that Perry and Luchasaurus probably know each other well enough that they should have, in theory, a good match. Or a good couple of matches. So
this is the thing. So you got Full Gear, as I said, in November. Christian should be healed up by then. There's your payoff. So you're not you're not doing another 6 months with it. You're doing another couple of months, and you can then actually have your match between the two of them, where it's a proper match and Christian can go.
Yeah. It's one of the big risks to the AEW style, isn't it? Of the long-term booking and long-term storytelling is fantastic until someone gets injured, and then you kind of have to potentially prolong them or do really smart ways to book out of it. But I think I'll always lean to the long-term booking and the short-term booking. It's always...
Yeah, I think it does work. And like I said, it's also logical. You can see it because there was hints of this beforehand, which sort of just being slightly more out of control than he had been. So yeah, you can sort of see it. So it's not necessarily negative that this just was an angle, just not a match. So it worked fine.
So next we hear the dulcet tones of White Zombie, and this pleased me.
I should imagine it did.
And then I saw who was coming out.
That did not please you. And then you saw the trousers, which displeased you even more.
Fuck me. Just no. Where we had Jericho versus Bryan. The majority of this was all right. You know, you could tell that Bryan was the one leading it because we actually had some wrestling. But Jericho had to fucking Jericho it at the end, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And just full fucking sports entertainment, kicking the dick, Judas, and then all the minions come out and they all have, you know, a massive hug. This was longer than it needed to be, is the one thing I will say. This dragged, and you could have quite easily dropped like 5 minutes out of this easily and not lost parts of the wrestling side of it and still had the dodgy Jericho and, you know, he's got to win every fucking time. But probably the best Jericho pay-per-view match since him and MJF. And, you know, because it doesn't involve some form of fucking around gimmickry that seems to be everything that he has at the minute.
Yeah, it definitely could have done with about 5 minutes taken out of it. It wasn't by no means it's not a bad match. Look who's in it. It wasn't going to be a bad match. It was just how it played out. Although what made me laugh was after at least 3 minutes, I couldn't get it out of my head because and Lacey will appreciate this. Jericho turned into Lex Luger with the constant pants adjusting.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was on pant watch.
Yeah. You couldn't help. It was so noticeable. It was do a move or just pants. Do a move or just pants. I was like, Jesus Christ.
With all that money he's got, you'd think he'd be able to buy a fucking belt.
I always think of Bubba Ray Dudley when he was in TNA for that, because I don't know why, because I've never noticed it in his WWE run, but he just seemed to, when he went to TNA, get an ill-fitting pair of trousers and spent most of his matches adjusting the trews every chance he got.
Definitely. If for the fans of the OSW out there, Jock Watch, when they do the TNA run and Bubba, they're beautiful.
By the way, obviously continue watching us, but I'm with you as well. OSW make some amazing wrestling content, so go and watch them after you've watched us. I really like this match. I thought this match was much better than I thought it was going to be. We said Danielson doesn't have bad matches. Danielson can wrestle a broomstick and it'd be fantastic. But I think luckily he got better than a broomstick to wrestle in this. I think Jericho really put a lot of effort in, and I think it probably takes a lot of effort for him these days to kind of go at this standard, at this level, because I think he is aging, and I think that's showing a bit more on him than it maybe is some other people. I thought this is excellent. I totally agree, though. I probably would have cut 5. I might have even cut 10 minutes off of this. Not that I want to see 10 minutes less of Danielson, but there are other parts of the show. So we go back to Starks and Hobbs, where I would have much rather maybe seen 5 more minutes in that match and seen a bit more of them. And also, I'd gone past about 5 o'clock in the morning when I was watching this. So as good as things were, there was a bit of a, come on, I've got to go to work in a couple of hours element at this point. And it did impact it. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure. Actually, I was going to say I'm not sure the right person won. I want to kind of go back to, like, as you said, the sports entertainment stuff, which I know frustrates you, but that's his gimmick. Of course, you're going to get that in this. That is the gimmick. Otherwise, what's the point of him? That's the thing that he's doing. That's the storyline. But I think I'd have liked to see Danielson get the win on the pay-per-view. Now, there's more to this story, isn't there? You know, like, we know this isn't the end. There's Daniel Garcia, there's et cetera, et cetera. This wasn't the end point. This is almost the beginning, or certainly the early stage of this story. But I would have liked to have seen Danielson get a big pay-per-view win. He doesn't need it. Jericho doesn't need it necessarily, but Danielson does a lot of jobs, and fantastically he's willing to do it. But I think I'd have liked Danielson to win this. But you could still have the sports entertainment stuff afterwards, couldn't you? Like a post-match beatdown or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's not heinous or anything like that. I think Danielson would have. I think it would have helped Danielson a bit more to be starting off this feud, maybe in a position of dominance over Jericho, and then Jericho can do shitty heel stuff to pull that back.
It's almost a weird thing because the match isn't about them. It's all about Garcia. It's the battle for Garcia's soul, if you will. So
it's the Eddie Ray custody battle, isn't it? But with Jericho and Danielson and Daniel Garcia being the sweet baby boy rather than Dominic Mysterio.
So that was followed by another 6-man match. The House of Black versus Miro, Sting, and Darby. Was all right. It went long. Though I did notice Julia Hart did look like what's her face from Fleetwood Mac when she's a witch in American Horror Story.
I didn't notice that. Oh, now I'm going to have to go back and watch that to pick up on that. I missed that entirely.
I'll be honest. I skipped quite a lot of this just to make up time. It was like, Miro, no, I'm not tagging you. I'm not tagging you. Oh, you tagged in. Oh, well, I'll just go stand outside for a bit. And then it was House of Black. And like we talked about in the previous show, I don't know what it is. They just don't click for me.
You want these guys on the card, though, don't you? You know, you've got Darby, one of the pillars. You've got, like, his granddad Sting with him. Miro, you want on there. House of Black, if there are final cylinders, you want on there. But, yeah, it could have easily not been on there. I don't think it would have been missed too much. This felt like, I don't know, I've said it many times before, this felt like a Rampage main event or a Dynamite main event, and I think probably would have been better placed in both of them. But by no means bad. Just kind of, and maybe it was a cool down before we go to the main. But yes, there was a lot of matches on this card, and this was one of those that could have easily gone, and I wouldn't have shed any tears.
Yeah. To be fair, for either that was the entrance for House of Black, probably.
Yeah. Well, and probably most notable about, potentially most notable about this match was not the entrance, but the exit, because there was a bow and almost a goodbye given by Malachi Black on the way out, or certainly that was how it was interpreted by a lot of people.
So we then go into our main event of the evening: champion versus champion, Moxley versus Punk.
Champion. Yeah, as I say, champion versus non-champion.
That's what it should have been.
That was last week, yeah.
Mox versus Punk. I really like this. This reminded me very much of Attitude Era main events. Even to the point where they went off into the crowd to have a little scuffle in the crowd. Really, really fucking good match. The right person won. Punk always should have won. Mox actually having a proper wrestling match for the majority of it was quite novel. Said he had his moment where he gets to go in the crowd because he has to, but there wasn't as much of the being outside the ring for random reasons or the just violence for the sake of violence sort of stuff that he does. He was actually wrestling and using, wrestling moves and submission holds. And, anyone think that he's in a group with Wheeler Yuta and Daniel Bryan and William Regal, who do wrestling.
It's a reminder that Mox actually can do this. He just
Chooses not to.
Not to, yes. And it's a shame because when he does, you go, "Oh yeah, you are really fucking good at this. You're believable."
I mean, this match had the biggest shock of the night, though, didn't it? Because Moxley didn't bleed.
I know.
Yes.
So it was a Moxley match without him bleeding. So and again, I thought that was a lovely little touch because we got so used to it now that it was nice for it to not happen.
But yeah, so what were your overalls on it, Said?
I really liked it. I thought it was a much like you said. It felt like a really good main event match to me. I'm going to deviate slightly. I'm going to go back to Clash at the Castle, and I know we've got two companies in very different modes here, but the main event for that, and I think it has been quite. People seem to quite like it, the McIntyre Roman Reigns. But earlier on in that evening, I saw Sheamus versus Walter, two big people knocking 10 bells of shite out of each other. They did it brilliantly. Then when you get to the Reigns Drew McIntyre main event, they tried to do a main event version of that, and I don't think it worked so well. Obviously, a massively hot crowd, and I think that's what's carried it through in so many eyes. But it just felt slow and laborious and lacked the violence that we had earlier. So jumping forward to All Out, you get that kind of mega violence, knocking 10 bells of shite out of each other thing with Kingston and Ishii. So I think it was such a smart idea not to go all the way in with that on this match. Yes, to have that kind of passion and that fight that we know they have, but as you say, to then quite quickly and for the most of the match, have that always interspersed with wrestling moves, wrestling moves. You know, and I thought they did so well. I would say, regardless of who won this, and I think you're right. I think at the time that was the right winner. But I was giddy no matter who was going to win this because I thought we've seen a real proper pay-per-view main event here, and these two are great.
Yeah, Taylor.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't think about it at the time, but now you point out this is an Attitude Era main event with guys that can go, and you can see why these two are main eventers. You can see why Mox is a main eventer. You can see why Punk's a main eventer. They left it all out there. You were invested, even though we all knew I think we all really knew what the outcome was going to be, who was winning. It was that journey there, and that journey there was absolutely fantastic, full of some great moments, some gut-wrenching moments. You know, the stairs spot was but yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoyed this, and it was a good cap to the show. And then they did something else which just made it even better, but hey,
I thought this was Punk's best match I've seen since his return as well. Like, I think this was the kind of pinnacle match. He's had some good ones, don't get me wrong, but I felt like this was his best one for me.
I'd still put the MJF one above it.
I like this more. Although the MJF one, I think, had kind of more story and passion. But I think as a match, I think this one outdid that for me.
Yeah, this would be a close second to me, but that MJF one still takes it for me.
I think they're interchangeable for me, depending on how I'm feeling, but those two are probably his two best matches. Absolutely.
And then
the crowd were happy because CM Punk won and the lights went out and we all went home. No, of course that didn't happen.
We hear a voicemail saying about someone being paid a load of money and was going to be brought back and chucked in the Jokers or in the casino ladder match.
And won't be forced to sign an extension.
And won't have to sign an extension but get a pay rise. And then we see the Joker on the screen.
No, we got the Summer of Punk.
Yeah.
Oh, was it? Yeah, the Summer of Punk. Then the Joker bit with
beautiful, by the way, and I'm glad you said that, Taylor, because I love that. And again, I think we're going to say love a lot for the next few minutes, but I love the voicemail into the guy who's just won the title in the ring, something from his past that we know fits the story, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. And then, as you say, the Joker appears on the screen that we saw from earlier in the evening.
Unmasks, and we see
he doesn't unmask the screen, which was a nice touch. But what he does do,
A Burberry scarf.
Burberry scarf. And I was like, yep, I called it, because the minute the Joker entered the ring in the casino ladder match, he did this weird thing where he wipes his feet, which is what MJF always does. I
read something afterwards, and I didn't pick up on this, and I don't think I ever would have. But someone said not only did he wipe his feet, but his shoes had red soles, which is what his shoes always have, because he wears Versace ones with red soles. I was just like, my God, some people really can pick up on stuff that I can't. I never would have noticed that in a million years.
But yeah, so Maxwell Jacob Freeman is back.
But not only did you get the video, the lovely thing is you got the music hit and he comes out, and that crowd pop. So you're in Chicago, the place of CM Punk, the place that's always been CM Punk's place, that no one ever cheers anyone bar CM Punk. Like John Cena, the most popular person around at the time, got booed the shit out of in Chicago because he was fighting Punk. No one's ever got, I think, the face reaction, and the crowd just ate this shit up, didn't they? They were just, we said rabid earlier, they were rabid for the Acclaims, they were semi-rabid for Hater. Oh, the joy that you could hear. And again, this crowd had been through a 19-match card at this point, and still this moment gets an amazing pop. I was flagging at this point, and the show was coming to an end, but God, what a pick-me-up this was. This was absolutely amazing.
So, I loved the reveal. I'm just not sure that that's the reaction that he should be getting.
Yeah, but the trouble is, I think he's taken steps to negate that, because it is that you've returned, you get, it doesn't matter who you are, you've returned, you get the face pop. On Dynamite, I think he does a job of, and I want to talk about it because he did such a masterful job on Dynamite, but here he does a masterful job. He's not even given the microphone. It's all his actions and the few words that he does speak, and he makes it quite clear what his intent is. And you can see that AEW have gone, right, okay, we're pushing you. You're back, you're getting that push. And quite frankly, if they don't put their title on him, they are stupid.
Yeah. What's your kind of beef with the reaction? Is it because like he's the ultimate heel, but he got a face reaction?
Yeah.
I don't think there's any way to not do that though, is there? Like I think unless he'd have stabbed Punk, I think that's the only way that Chicago crowd wasn't cheering for him.
See, I think what I would have done is, instead of him coming out on the ramp and unmasking, you have the voicemail, the Summer of Punk bit. You cut to the ring. He's behind him with the ring. Cracks Punk in the face because you shit on the hometown boy. Take the mask off and potentially still get.
Do you know what? He's getting that face. He's getting that reaction. I think he's getting the face reaction, even if he did that. Even if they knocked out Chicago's own, I think on that night, the crowd, we talked about it in the preview show about how we almost didn't want to say his name out loud in case it cursed it. AEW fans want him back, and they got him back, and I think there's no way he wasn't getting a cheer. Now, I know you alluded to it, Taylor, it's now his job to make himself hated again, but he's always going to be loved. He is that heel now who, he's the megastar, isn't he? And the crowd are always going to want to cheer him, and he will always probably have the skills to make them boo him. But at some point they'll turn him face. One day he'll be a face, won't he? He'll be the Rock when he turned. He'll be any of those big heels that when they turn, they'll get a face reaction. But I think he is the purest and best heel in the business. And I've got faith that no matter how much I want him back, I know I want to boo him next week. I want him to come out and say something absolutely horrendous. But that first time he comes back, he was going to get a huge cheer pop, a huge face pop for me, because it was just, I'm going to say, almost a dream come true. With all the storyline stuff that had happened, and you know the unsurety of how much of it was reality and whether he'd ever be back, I felt like some of it towards the end was a work and he was coming back. But it was almost felt like a relief as an AEW fan to see him. So fuck me, I was cheering like the second coming of CM Punk in Chicago, because ultimately that's what it was for me.
So overall, what did we think of the pay-per-view? I will start with you, Taylor.
It's too long, needs to be shorter, but on the whole, it had some very good high points, mostly middles. So yeah, it's fine, but too long. That is the biggest thing. With 19 match card, I didn't watch the pre-show. I just watched the 4 hours of the main show, and it took me 2 days. You know, it took me 2 nights to do it. So yeah, trim that down a bit, and I think you would have an AEW that just would be knocking it out of the park pay-per-view wise constantly. I think they just get a little, like their roster, they are a little bit bloated on their pay-per-views.
Said,
superb for me, and I say superb because it 100% agree. Way too long. They need to work on that. I know they want to get as many acts as they can on the pay-per-view because they are irregular compared to some of the other companies. But the length of it was impactful. But the reason why I stick with superb is I think the highs were so high that it kept pulling me back. I even in my fatigue moments, there was something just around the corner that pulled me back into like I say popping at home, silently popping because my missus was trying to get some sleep. But yes, still a superb show. But I think it could have been even better with an hour less content and an hour less maybe being 3 or 4 matches not being on the card that were there.
Yeah, when this was good, this was very fucking good. But as we've all said, it was way too long. There is way too much stuff that was just meh. That could have quite easily been on a TV show and just as impactful there. A lot of, there's at least 5 matches that could have easily been TV matches that don't need to be on a pay-per-view. I personally don't think any show should really be going over 3 hours. I mean, that's a burnout point after that.
Or if it is going to go over, every match feels essential.
Yeah.
And I know, like for crowd management, you probably would want to have a bit of cool down, but I guess that's where you'd have an angle or something like that, or some interviews. But yeah, I think if you're going to run a 4-hour match card, every match needs to feel essential, and a lot of them didn't, did they?
Yeah, but there is more. And
no, there isn't.
With that
no, there isn't.
later.
Nothing happened, mate. Nothing happened. The show went off air. Everything was happy. We went home.
Went to work.
We went home and we went, oh, brilliant. MJS back. Punk's champion. Everything's happy in the world. Nothing can. This is the AEW's resurgent. Nothing can go wrong here. Yes.
To be continued.
To be continued, yeah.
Yes. So, this is the review. As always, said, you're here.
I'm here.
And I'll do it because no one's going to remind him. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe this video.
I was about to do that after I went to you to pimp all your things. It's going to come to you to pimp all your stuff and your things.
I'm sorry, Godfather.
yeah, pimping ain't easy.
So, Taylor, pimp away.
Okay, sorry. Okay, you can find me on Twitch. I am Taylor Never on there, or you can find me on YouTube. I'm Taylor Never there, looking at retro games, and soon, I have a big job ahead of me where I take a look at about 40 plus wrestling games. So, wish me luck. It's not going to stretch my sanity much because there's not bad games in there at all. Actually, no, there is some. There is some. I just remembered that I will have to take a look at In Your House. And, but yes, you can find me live streaming, and you can find me on YouTube, and occasionally you can find me here too.
And Game Burst.
And Game Burst.
I'm here most of the time talking just utter nonsense, normally about music and comic books and
comic books.
And if you want to hear me talk even more shit, you can listen to me on Wrestling 20 Years Ago talking about shit from 20 years ago, which is nice.
So basically, like all our like rat holes in this show, just without the modern stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. As always, bells ring, comments down there, buttons pressing like, do all that YouTube loveliness. And we will be back shortly with a press conference
And some dynamite.